There was a time you were brave. I know there was. But here's the thing. You can't live off the memory of yesterday's courage. It just doesn't work that way. So let's get right to it and ask the only question that really matters. Who are you choosing to be right now? And that question, well, that's the one life asks you every single day, relentlessly. It doesn't give a damn about your old trophies or your past victories, The applause, it fades. The milestones, they start to blur together. And when all that's gone, what's left? Just you, the person you are today. And the choice you're about to make next. So, where does this relentless questioning lead us? Well, it brings us to a really dangerous place, this comfortable prison we build for ourselves, brick by brick out of all our past wins. We're going to call it the trap of yesterday. I want you to really think about this for a second. That thing that once felt like your absolute greatest achievement? Yeah, that's now just your baseline. The ceiling you broke through, that's the floor you're standing on right now. Now listen, this isn't failure, not at all. It's the launch pad for your next evolution. But here's the catch. You can't build tomorrow's skyscraper with yesterday's blueprints. It just won't work. So, right here, right now, you've got a choice, a real choice. On one hand, you can build this monument to your past, spend your time celebrating the person you were. Or you can become a movement towards your future, actively, every single day, becoming the person you're meant to be. Look, you can reminisce or you can rise, but you can't do both forever. Eventually, you gotta pick a side. Okay, so let's get personal. Ask yourself this and be honest. What's something you did that scared the hell out of you? I mean, really scared you. That moment you walked through fire, or you spoke up even when your voice was shaking, or you took that leap when there was no safety net in sight. Think about that version of you. That person didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't go around asking for permission. They just moved. So the question is, what are you waiting for now? You know that hesitation you feel? That fear? It feels like a stop sign, doesn't it? But it's not. It's the exact opposite. It's the first page of your next chapter. It is the invitation of discomfort. This is huge. We have to completely redefine our relationship with fear. We're programmed to see it as a warning, right? A signal to retreat. But what if we saw it as an invitation forward? That feeling in your gut, it's not some monster in the closet. It's a notification popping up that says, hey, an upgrade is available. It's the universe's way of telling you that you're right on the edge of becoming something more. Here's one of the great paradoxes of life, the central truth of all growth. We don't find our purpose by running from the hard parts. We find it by running towards them. It's when our backs are against the wall that we're finally forced to evolve. It's in the pitch black darkness that we discover our own light. And it's only when we're truly, completely lost that we finally find ourselves. Okay, so that sounds great, but how do you actually handle that kind of intensity in the moment? I heard this great story about a college coach. He used to tell his players, look, you can do anything for 15 seconds. And when you think about it, life is just a series of these little 15-second windows. It's all about compartmentalizing the pain, turning the difficult into an advantage, and just focusing on enduring this one moment. Just this one. But what happens if we say no? What if we refuse that invitation to discomfort? Well, we don't just stay where we are. We don't just stagnate. No, we risk something so much worse. We risk the erosion of self. See, this erosion, it doesn't happen with a big explosion. It's a slow, quiet chipping away at who you are. It starts with one tiny concession you make today, a small sacrifice of your principles tomorrow. And you tell yourself, it's fine, it's just for now, it's only temporary. But all those little steps away from your true north, they add up, they compound, until one day you catch your reflection in the mirror and you have absolutely no idea who that stranger is looking back at you. Look, there are plenty of things in life you can compromise on. Your dinner plans, the movie you watch, fine. But this is not one of them. Your identity, your journey, the very thing that makes you feel alive, that, my friend, is sacred ground. That is worth defending until your very last breath. No one gets to take it from you. It's yours. Period. So, how do you defend that sacred ground? Well, it takes a very specific kind of strength. It takes the courage to persist. Especially when the results you want aren't showing up right away. Let me give you a number. 53%. What's that? Well, midway through an NFL season, that was the success rate for coaches who decided to go for it on 4th and 1. You know, that high risk, high reward, nail-biting decision. Now think about that. If the play works, the coach is a genius, a hero. If it fails, he's a fool, an idiot. But the process, the decision to go for it, was exactly the same in both cases. We do this all the time, don't we? We judge our entire approach based on a single outcome. Walking away from something you believe in after one bad result, that's like that coach saying, well, that's it. No more 4th downs for me, ever. The real key is having the guts to trust the process and show up to try again. There's a great concept from the author James Clear that illustrates this perfectly. He calls it the ice cube principle. Imagine you've got an ice cube in a room. You raise the temperature from 28 degrees to 29, to 30, to 31. What happens? Nothing. Visibly, nothing changes. It's still just a block of ice. But was all that work, all that energy wasted? Absolutely not. Because it's at that next degree, at 32 degrees, that the transformation finally happens. That's when it begins to melt. So much of our effort in life is just like that. It's all that unseen work happening right before the big breakthrough. So when you really embrace that persistence, when you finally understand that breakthroughs take time, that's when you can step into your ultimate role. It's time to stop being just a character in your own story and start becoming the architect. I've got to share this story a friend told me. He paid thousands of dollars to meet this business mentor, someone he put on a huge pedestal. And when he finally met him, the guy was completely and totally underwhelming. But you know what? He wasn't even angry. He told me it was the best money I've ever spent. Why? Because it taught him the most important lesson of his life. If this clown can do it, what in the world is stopping me? And that right there is the secret. We put people on these pedestals, right? We assume they have some special talent, some untouchable genius that we just don't have. But so often, that one thing they have that you might not, it's not talent, it's not genius, it is simply and solely self-belief. They just gave themselves permission to go for it. So, that brings me to a few questions for you, and I want you to feel the answer. Do you believe this world is yours for the taking? Do you truly believe that you are in exactly the right place at exactly the right time, right now? Do you believe that courage isn't a trait you're born with, but a choice you make moment by moment? And do you believe that if you have something important to say, that keeping it inside is a tragedy? And one last one. Do you believe in your own resilience? Do you believe that when your back is against the wall, it's not a punishment, but an opportunity to evolve into something more? Because the truth is, you are the architect. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need permission from anybody. You don't even need to belong. You already have everything you need right here, right now. All you need to do is start. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about what might be the single most important choice you will ever make. It's the decision that defines everything else that follows. Are you going to step into the arena of your own life, or are you going to watch it all from the sidelines? Are you going to shape your world, or are you just going to let the world shape you? So you have to wonder, why is this the default setting for so many people? Well, it's because instead of walking out the door to build the reality they want, they choose to sit back. They become observers, armchair critics. They end up condemning the very people who are actually in the fight. They trade the possibility of real victory for the illusion of safety. And this leads us to an incredibly powerful idea, one that was famously captured by Teddy Roosevelt in his Man in the Arena speech. It really frames our entire existence around one single fundamental question. Are you a participant, or are you just a spectator? Let's break this down. On one side, you've got the critic. This is the person sitting up in the cheap seats, pointing out how the strong person stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The critic avoids defeat at all costs, which, by definition, means they can never, ever taste victory. But then, on the other side, you have the contender. This is the one who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood. The one who, even if they fail, at least fails while daring greatly. And here is the thing you've absolutely got to understand. In our terror of life's lows, we willingly, almost eagerly, sacrifice the highs. By trying to dodge all the turbulence and the criticism and the risk, we end up depriving ourselves of all the beauty. It's a package deal. You simply cannot have one without the other. So, this obsession with safety, this deep need to avoid the fight, well, it comes at a staggering price. We think we're buying ourselves some peace of mind, some security, but what we're really buying is stagnation. Which really begs the question, right? What is it that keeps us glued to those seats, just watching other people live out their stories? Why do we so often choose to be an audience member in the one life we actually get to live? You know, when you really get down to it, it boils down to a few core fears. First up, there's that classic fear of failure. It just paralyzes us with that voice in our head saying, but what if it all goes wrong? Then there's the fear of criticism, the fear of what other people will think or say, which makes us want to hide. And we cling to this illusion that we can predict and control everything, because the comfort of doing nothing, man, it often feels so much safer than the chaos of trying to create something new. And this right here, this reveals the real cost. We're so worried about what we might risk by taking action, but we never stop to think about everything we are guaranteed to lose by doing nothing. Nothing in this world is more expensive than a missed opportunity. The cost of an action isn't a maybe, it's a certainty. It's 100% of the shots you never, ever take. Okay, so if we're stuck on the sidelines, how in the world do we get onto the field? The answer is hope. But listen, we're not talking about some passive, wishing on a star kind of hope. No, this is an active, powerful, gritty force that literally serves as the bridge from where you are right now to where you want to be. I want you to think of this kind of hope as a two-part engine. The first part is the unwavering, absolute belief that a better world, a better reality for you exists out there somewhere. And the second part, which is maybe the most important, is the deep down conviction that you are strong enough to build the bridge to get to it. And this whole process really breaks down into two very clear, very actionable steps. Step 1. You have to first believe that a way forward actually exists. You have to believe that your current situation is not your final destination. And step 2, you have to take it upon yourself to create that way. You know, there's a famous study that illustrates step 1 perfectly. Scientists put rats in a bucket of water, and after a while, they just gave up. But with a second group, right before they gave up, they were rescued. Then they were put back in, and this time, they swam for hours. They were given hope. They were given the belief that a way out was possible. And step 2, creating the way, well, that's like the person who needed more space and didn't wait around for permission. They just grabbed a sledgehammer, knocked down a wall, and built it themselves. They didn't find the way, they created it. All right, this brings us to what I think is a profound shift in perspective. The goal in life isn't to find an easy path. The goal is to choose a meaningful difficulty. Because here's the truth of the matter. Life is always difficult. There is no escaping that. There is no path free from struggle. So, the only real choice you have is which difficulty you want to face. So what are your options? Well, on one hand, you've got the difficulty of regret. It's a passive, heavy kind of difficulty. It's the corrosion of always wondering, what if? It's the pain of stagnation, of letting yourself down day after day. But then on the other hand, there's the difficulty of growth. Now this is an active difficulty. This is the struggle that forges meaning, that builds real strength, that leads to actual progress. One of them breaks you down from the inside out. The other one builds you up. You have to choose. And you have to realize, when you stay on the sidelines, you've already picked your opponent, and that opponent is you. You don't even give the world a chance to knock you down, because you've already defeated yourself. The only true, guaranteed way to lose in life is to take yourself out of the game before it even starts. Okay, so let's put all of this together. It's time to stop waiting. It's time to start building. It is time to become the architect of your own life. This is the fundamental truth right here. A meaningful life is not something you just stumble upon by accident. It is something you construct, piece by piece, decision by decision, through courageous and deliberate action. The world gives you the raw materials, sure, but you are the one who has to do the building. Please remember this. You were not put on this earth to simply exist in the background, to stay on the outside looking in. You were meant to engage. You were meant to create. You were meant to step into the light. You know, the fear that you feel before you start something new, that's temporary. It fades. But the fear of not going for it, that is the real monster. It starts out small, just a little whisper of doubt, but it grows and grows over time. And inaction, if you let it fester, always transforms into the crushing, unbearable weight of regret. So I will leave you with this one question. Yes, it is scary to step into the arena. It's scary to risk failure and criticism. Of course it is. But how scared are you of staying exactly the same? How scared are you of looking back in 50 years and just wishing you'd given it a try? Because when you really weigh those two fears side by side, you'll find that not going is almost always the scarier choice. All right, the time has come to resurrect the hero. And look, This isn't about avoiding the darkness. No, we're going to stop running from it. In fact, we're going into it. We're going to confront it head on and come out the other side with a real, deep understanding of who we're actually meant to be. This is about rebirth. So let's get into it. You know, the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung, he got this. He understood this journey on a profound level. He saw it as the ultimate human challenge, right? It's this long-hoped-for victory of consciousness over the unconscious. It's like a symbolic death of your old self to make room for the new one. To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at an old story. So you've got this village, and they live in absolute terror of a beast that supposedly lives in a cave nearby. A single samurai is sent to destroy it. And the whispers, the stories, they all say it's an unstoppable force, a monster that's taken down every warrior who came before. So the samurai's journey, it's just brutal. He's climbing these impossible mountains, pushing through insane storms. But you know what? The real fight, that's happening inside him. With every single step, he's battling his own fear, his own doubt, the sheer weight of his exhaustion. And finally, he's there, standing at the mouth of the cave. Everything is silent. He pulls out his sword and steps into the darkness. He's bracing himself, you know, expecting a roar that shakes the very ground. But there's nothing, just this deep, total silence. And at the very back of the cave, there's just one thing, a mirror, showing his own tired face staring back at him. And in that silence, it all clicks. The beast was never out there. It was the shadows inside him all along. His anger, his pride, his fear. And isn't that the battle we all face? We put on our armor to fight the world, but the real monster? It's so often the person staring back at us in the mirror. Okay, so if the monster is us, why do we wait? Why do we choose to stay stuck, just locked in this battle we won't even start fighting? Well, that brings us to the first huge hurdle, the strange comfort of the devil you know. So what we're looking at here is a really stark choice, isn't it? On one side, you have the devil you know. That's the quiet, private ache of regret, you know? That nagging feeling of what you could have been, those what-ifs that keep you up at night. Then, on the other side, you have the devil you don't know. And that's the terrifying idea of failing, but failing big, in public, spectacularly. It's a huge gamble. And most of us, well, we choose the familiar pain. So what keeps us stuck there? A lot of the time, it's our own history. We look back at what we've done, at our past successes, and we treat them like they're our entire identity. It's like we build this huge monument to the person we used to be, and then we spend all our energy defending it, terrified that if we try something new and fail, it'll ruin the whole thing. But what feels like security, it's actually an ankle weight, chaining us to a past version of ourselves. And this is the part that you have to get. Your value was never in that monument. Your real, true worth is in your ability to be the builder. It's in the resilience, the grit, the wisdom, the warrior that you've been forging this entire time. And that is a power no one can ever take from you. Dropping that ankle weight and choosing to build again, it all starts with one single powerful moment. And that brings us to the second stage of this whole thing, the one decision. Now, this is an absolutely massive idea. Just think about it. At any moment, right now, you are literally one decision away from a totally different life. Not 1,000 steps, not some grand, complicated plan, just one. That one simple, terrifying, and totally liberating decision to just begin. Think of it like this. You're in a car at night, sitting in this huge, dark parking lot. When you turn on your headlights, they don't light up the whole way home, right? No, they just give you enough light to pull out of your parking spot. That's it. And once you do that, then they show you the way to the exit of the lot. And at the exit, they show you a next turn, and then the next, guiding you one step at a time until boom, you're home. See, you never needed to see the entire path. You just needed enough light for the very next step. And that really is the secret. The people who make these incredible changes in their lives, they don't have all the answers when they start. What they have is the courage to get in the car, turn on the lights, and trust themselves to handle the road as it comes. Of course, that journey isn't going to be easy. Stepping into the dark, well, that guarantees a struggle. But this is where we hit the third great truth. We have to reframe hardship. It's not a curse. It's the crucible where we grow. This is what we call the privilege of suffering. We're talking about voluntary suffering here. The difficulty we choose because we're chasing something that matters. This isn't about punishing yourself. It's a sacred arena. It's the fire where your real identity gets forged, where your weaknesses get burned away and turned into wisdom, and all that untapped potential gets hammered into real, undeniable power. There's a story about a guy who's deep into the hardest workout of his life. I mean, his muscles are on fire, his body is shaking, he's about to collapse. And right there, in that moment of pure agony, he closes his eyes and says a little prayer. But he's not asking for the pain to stop. He says with total gratitude, "Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to suffer, because I get to." Just let that sink in for a second, that shift in perspective. We don't have to do hard things, we get to. There are people out there who would give anything for the ability to walk, to run, to struggle, to feel the sweat and the pounding heart, to feel truly viscerally alive. This isn't a punishment, it's an absolute privilege. So, when you can finally look at your own reflection, make that one powerful decision, and embrace the struggle as a privilege, that's when you arrive. You reach the final stage, your rebirth. This is it. This is the resurrection of the hero. And here it is, the ultimate truth of this entire journey. The hero isn't made by some miracle. It doesn't just appear out of thin air. No, the hero is resurrected through the deep, unshakable knowing that it was inside you the whole damn time. The strength you've been looking for has always been there, just buried under the fears you've been running from, waiting, just waiting for you to turn around and face them. That life you keep dreaming about, that version of yourself you want to be, it isn't waiting for you to become worthy. It's not locked away somewhere. It's right here. It's right now. And it's whispering to you, "I'm ready when you are." The only thing that has ever been missing is your decision to start. So the only question that really matters is the one being asked by the person staring back at you from the mirror. They're begging you for your courage. They're asking you to lead. So, are you going to answer the call?